And so I'm here today to talk about how we at Atlas Obscura went about defining and designing our product's critical event, and why it's important as designers and as product people to focus your attention towards a single user action as you're designing a user experience. But before I do that, many of you are probably wondering, what is Atlas Obscura? So we are we started in 2009 as a blog for people to share and document the world's most hidden and unique places. So we're all 17,000 entries, most of which have been of over 500,000, and our site is viewed by over 6 million people every month. Our mission is to inspire wonder and curiosity about this incredible world that we all share. And we do that in many ways. To start, we have this database of incredible places contributed by our large community, and this is really at the core of our brand. For example, the Eiffel Tower would not be an Atlas Obscura place, but the secret apartment at the top of the Eiffel Tower that Gustave Eiffel built to host luminaries such as Thomas Edison for tea, this would be a great example of an Atlas Obscura place. This is in Turkmenistan. It's called the Gates of Hell, and surprisingly, it is not a natural phenomenon. This was an industrial accident that happened back in 1971 when a Soviet natural gas drilling rig punctured a hole in the surface of the desert, causing this 300, it subsequently fell into the hole, creating this 300-foot wide chasm in the desert. And as if things couldn't get any worse, it started spewing deadly natural gas into the air. And so they did what I think they thought was a good solution at the time, which was to light it on fire, thinking that it would dissipate over the next few days, the next few weeks. But it has now been burning for over 40 years. And so we have this incredible database of all these places all over the world that have been contributed by our amazing community. We also throw events, many of which go to these places in our database. This is at the Explorers Club in New York, where I think they're sharing some things from the archives. We also take people on trips. This is in Bulgaria. It's to a place called Bazludza. It is what's considered one of the largest abandoned communist monuments in the world. And so we do a lot of other things. We have two books. The one on the right you might recognize. The one on the left is a recent kids book we released. Both were on the New York Times bestselling list. We write articles. The content is centered around these hidden places, incredible history, scientific marvels all across the board. We encourage our users to create an account with us to better track their travels. We have a shop where people can buy unique gifts from us. We have a newsletter where people can sign up for a daily digest of our best content. We have video. And so we do a lot, and it's all with the hope that we're inspiring wonder and curiosity with everything that we do. And I personally really love this mission. It's really why I took the job at Atlas Obscura. But back when I started, I was having trouble understanding how this mission could translate into designing a digital experience. I was a little fuzzy. I think the team was a little unfocused on what we were actually trying to do as far as designing our product. And at the same time, our company was asking ourselves who we were exactly. Were we a travel company? Were we a digital magazine? Were we this just collection of weird stories and places? And so to start chipping away at these questions, one of my first tasks on the job was to run usability walkthroughs, which is using something like usertesting.com to draw people into our site and have them react to the pages while the screen is recorded and their audio is recorded, to get a better understanding of how people, what they thought they should be doing on their site, what they thought of the brand. And what we found was that our audience also was not very clear on what they should be doing on the site. And internally, we hadn't really discussed what we wanted people to do on our site. So it was no wonder that they were also confused. Where they, we never really prioritized those events that I talked through earlier. Is our main goal to get people to sign up for the newsletter, to see an ad, to read a story? And so this really made it difficult for us, not only as a product team, but also as a business. And so we decided we really needed to focus our strategy towards a single user action, what I at the time was calling a critical event, but what maybe is more commonly known as the end of your conversion funnel. And in starting to think about this, we thought about what the real value Atlas Obscura could bring to people's lives and how that could and how that might align with our business goals, and try to find that sweet spot. And so after talking at length with the leadership at Atlas Obscura, it quickly became clear that if we had to choose one thing we wanted our users to do as far as interacting with our brand is concerned, it would be to learn about an Atlas Obscura place on our site and then go visit it in real life. So if we could take users from the digital world and take them from the digital world to the real world, where they can have this awe-inspiring experience thanks to something we wrote about on our site, that would be the ultimate connection someone could make with Atlas Obscura. And by all means, we support people going out and exploring these places on their own, but we also recognize that we were in the perfect position to take people to those places. We had the access and the connections and the knowledge of these places to give them this amazing experience in the real world. And so our critical event here, it is visit an Atlas Obscura recommended place in real life, but we also offer these trips, so why not come with us? And so once we had this focus as a company, it really allowed us to focus on a single action and made things much more clear as far as designing a user experience came. We were able to be much more intentional with what we were doing, and it became very quickly clear that this was going to be a fundamental way of how we were going to succeed as a product and ultimately as a brand. And so let me step back real quick. I want to define a critical event. A critical event is the key action people take with your product that aligns with your core business objective. So at Lyft, it might be a rider completing a ride. At Headspace, it might be a person completing a meditation. At Atlas Obscura, we want people to visit one of our recommended places, ideally with us on a trip. And so from a product perspective, we had, there was a lot we could do, and I wanted to walk through some of those ways that we are doing that. This is our what we call our destination page. It's the kind of hub for all the content that's related to a specific region in the world. So if someone is on this page, they might be thinking about a trip to Mexico City. So we surface the trip that we are putting on to Mexico City. This is our place page. Every place in our database has one of these templates. So if a user's on this page, maybe they're thinking about a trip to Germany to see this bridge. You guessed it, we let them know that we have a trip to Germany that they could go on with us. This is our article template. We tell these incredible stories on a wide range of topics, mostly centered on travel. And what we found was that when we associated, when the topic of the story in the article was related to a place in the world, it performed twice as well as those that didn't. So we internally shifted our strategy, started writing more place-centric stories, and as a result, we're able to promote our trips on these pages as well. So this story was about this woman in Canada. We have a trip to Winnipeg. Let's let this person know that we're going there. This is back to our place page. In the top right, you can see these action buttons that we have for users to better curate their travels, so they can mark places in our databases. Places they've been, places they want to visit. They can create a list for a trip they're planning, and so these are great tools for for travelers to use as they're planning their trips. But it also serves a great purpose for us, because we can see if there's an uptick in clicks of that want to visit button for places in New Mexico. We happen to have a trip to New Mexico, and we can use that to influence our marketing. This is an example of one of we call our destination newsletter, and it is promoting our trip to New Mexico. And lastly, we recently launched a beta version of a travel forum. This was a place for people to share their travel experiences and their firsthand accounts with places in our database. Firsthand account visiting places in our database. And this was a place that could foster a connection between users and other members of our community, so that they could talk about their travels, but it was also a place that users could feel a closer connection to our brand. And we recognize that the tighter that connection becomes, the more trust they have in us as a brand, and the more likely they would be to go with us on one of these trips. And so those were just a few examples, but as we continue to design and develop features on our site, we constantly make sure that everything we do increases the chances that this critical event occurs. And as you work with your teams, I want to just stress the importance of ruthlessly prioritizing this event and focus on it as a team. It really helps preventing you from being distracted by less critical interactions. Maybe the marketing team is pushing for newsletter signups. That action should have a place in getting users to your critical event. And as a company, we were able to all rally around this event, and it really helped us stay focused on what we were trying to do. And so, has this been successful? So far, we think so. Our trips business started with only 3 trips back in 2016, and we're projected to have over 150 departures next year. So it's clear that our audience really does want to travel with us. And so if you are curious about coming up with your own critical event for the product you're working on, or the company you work for, or the app you're building, here are some questions that you could ask yourselves to help start thinking of what it might be. So what product offering is most important to your business? For us, we offered a whole lot of things that people could do on our site, like sign up for the email, watching a video, buying our book, but we really had to narrow our focus to one. What metric do you care most about as a company? And what's the most value someone can get from your product? And remember that this should align with your product's value proposition. That's key. And just to recap, starting out, if you're unsure of what your critical event is, the first step is to make sure you understand your business, both your business goals and your user goals. And then once you have a solid understanding of those, looking for where those align. And then in that area, if you're imagining a Venn diagram, in that area where those business goals and the user goals align, that's a sweet spot. That's where you will find your critical event. And then once you as a company are all on the same page on what this event is, it's important to ruthlessly prioritize and focus on that critical event. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Amazing start to the evening. It's always unfair with travel because you just get to show pictures of cool shit all night. It's not fair. But actually, question along those lines, you track what places users want to visit. Do you know offhand what the most wanted to visit locale is on Atlas Obscura?
There's the catacombs in Paris. That's always at the top of the list. There's that hidden MTA the subway platform in New York is also pretty high on that list.
Very cool.
So yeah.
All right, raise your hand if you have a question. I'll run over to you.
Hi, thanks for the great presentation. I understood from the presentation that you are actually operating these trips.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, why did you decide to operate these trips rather than having partnerships with companies whose primary focus is actually to organize that kind of trips?
We're kind of in the middle ground. When we first started doing them, we were partnering with a few different companies that do this full time. So we were just kind of the brand, the face of the companies, and helped curate the itineraries. But the more that we conduct since 2016 when we started, as we've been doing them longer and longer, we've made our own connections with people in the locales that we go to and are able to set them up ourselves. But we curate the itineraries, we set up all the connections with the lodging and the fixers and the places we go, and then we have people locally operate them, usually with one Atlas Obscura staff on hand as well.
Oh, Jack, right over there.
Hi, this is a follow-up question. So how are your trips different than, let's say, Tripadvisor or something like that?
Sure.
How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, we really pride ourselves on the special access we have to some of these hidden and unique places across the world. We have these connections across the world. We have the knowledge of these places just due to, we've been operating since 2009. We've written about them. We've studied them. We know how to package them well. And so I would say we're marketing towards a slightly different demographic than Tripadvisor is. And yeah, for those reasons, we're a little different.
Last question right here.
Sorry, this is sort of a follow-up to that, but do you work with people in the same way that Airbnb experiences work with the hosts of their experience? Do you have one person of Atlas Obscura staff in front of it?
So Airbnb experiences, they have local people who create the experiences on their platform, and then they have their own page to book. We are more likely to reach out to people, who maybe are doing that already, maybe who are giving tours of Bulgaria. We knew someone there and they recommended this person, and so then we would vet them and then use them on our trip.
So, sorry.
Yeah.
So you're basically, you verify the Airbnb.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, very much so. We have a small but quickly growing trips team that they do that all day, every day.
Do you work for Airbnb? I think, unfortunately, that's all we have time for. One last question, though. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
My favorite place of Atlas Obscura?
No, where you traveled.
I really am a sucker for Tokyo, Japan.
Right.
Love it there.
Awesome.
We are very much hiring, so go to atlasobscura.com/jobs. There'll be more jobs posted soon, but if you're interested, let me know.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
very much.
Terrific.